ice cream time. Maybe you might want to hold your head up a little bit. There you go. Hold your head up.
My head's getting tired.
Okay, go ahead.
Pop used to have a beer garden, restaurant. That was always a restaurant. We didn't have telephones in those days, by the way, because we had to call my dad. Pop would call the house. He didn't call, he came out and whistled. And our old family whistle, which I can't do anymore because feet don't work with it. But that whistle would penetrate, was strong enough, and came all the way to our house, which is a good, more than a football field. And everybody inside the house could hear that whistle, and they all come in, go answer Pop, he's calling. So we did. But anyhow, we had the communication. By the way, our first telephone we had, our telephone number was 2901, and I'll never forget it. And that's all he had. So when we called somebody, you just pick up the phone, say 2901, and it should dial them. But anyhow, back to the story. Where were we? Oh, I would go down to the store. We had an ice cream machine that Pop bought. He bought it from, I don't know, Orville Milk Company, I guess. He had a ice cream machine, a freezer, and we made ice cream for the first time, and anybody ever did that. And we had our own ice cream manufacturing in Matewan. And at one time, all summer long, we would go out and peddle ice cream in the coal mines, all around the coal mines. We'd go up to Red Jacket, North Matewan, Red Jacket, and Red Jacket up to Mitchell Creek, all those places up there. And we had a truck, an old bread truck. Pop bought it used from a bread company, wore out. So he had it decorated and took the back doors off of it, and the guy would stand, Bert Dickens was the guy he was the conductor, so to speak. And he would be back there, and he would be hollering ice cream. 5 cents, 10 cents a dip. No, 5 cents a dip. And we took script, cash, anything they wanted to spend. And script, is coal mine money. You could get a little advance on your pay, and as long as you get it in script, that meant you had to spend it in the company store. So anyhow, we would go out, and that we had a box in the back of that truck that would hold 6 cans of ice cream. And cans of ice cream was 6 5-gallon cans. And they were packed in ice and salt. Ice and salt. And ice and salt creates a freeze. So that ice cream stayed cold all day. So we went out and sold that ice cream. We had 6 of them, 1 dip at a time, nickel a dip. And if we had a ball game, we'd go up and park that ball game and almost empty the car out. But he went and sold that much ice cream in one day and dipped it out.
Tell them how they got the milk.
Oh, all the milk. Oh, that had to be shipped. Nobody around there had that kind of cream or what it took to make ice cream. So the cream that we got, and it was called cream, that wasn't milk. It was cream, and it came from Orville Milk Company in Orville, Ohio, and it came by train, and it was shipped on a manifest And a manifest is a train that only stops in very few places where it has to stop. And that milk has a jacket around it, a container, and I think it was a 10, 15 gallon container of all cream. Maybe it's more than that. I really don't. If you've ever seen the containers, they had them in those days. I don't recall the gallon size, but anyhow, it was a lot of it in there, and it would come in, and they'd come into the train station, which was right across the street from the store, and we'd have to go over and pick it up as soon as it got there, because it couldn't stay out in the weather. There's no refrigeration. So they came back, and we got it inside the store, and we had freezer coolers that was freezers, and we could pack that ice cream or pack that cream into smaller containers and put it down those containers and keep it cold. And then Josephine, Harry, I don't think John ever made it. They made ice cream. Man, they made any kind of ice cream. They made their own kind, the flavor their own. But anyhow, we had it, and it was part of our business. But it was a good business. It was a good business for us. Oh, it was those days. That's when they had a lot of problems with the coal miners when their unions. The CIO, that was a big one.
Tell them about the different stores your dad had.
Oh, we had a store when I don't even know the year. Of course, a lot of. It was in the early 40s, believe me. Could be 30s, 30 and 39. But we had his restaurant. We called it a restaurant, and it wasn't really a restaurant. It was a beer garden, restaurant, ice cream bar, all that. Then next door was a department store, all clothing, which was in business up until probably 10 years ago. It was still in business. Of course, it wasn't selling many clothes, but that was when Eddie was still living. And after Eddie got, that was the end of it, because Eddie, when he was still living, went there every day and opened a store. Didn't sell anything, but it was there. But we had, in the beginning, we had the restaurant. Next door was a department store. Down in the basement was a shoe shop. Upstairs was a beauty shop. And Josephine and Rose were the beauty shop. He had a lot of businesses. So the union started organizing, and in order to stay in business, the merchants had to join the union, and that was a money grabber, because they wanted money to register. So Pop did. He registered and had his union card and tagged and had it in the window, taped up in the window. So they let all the people know that we supported the union. The guy came around and he says, "Who owns these other stores down here?" He says, "You got to join the union for every one of them." My dad refused. He says, "I own them all, and I belong there." And the guy said, no, you don't. He walked over the window, and he took that sign and tore it off the window. My dad picked up it, went over and picked up his .38, and he stuck it in his belly. He said, put it back. And he made him put it back. And we taped that sign back on there, and we had pictures of it. Somebody has them. I've seen them, but I don't know who has those remainders. Oh, but
when did he have the transfer business? Is that before your time?
Oh, that was before my time. That was Pop. Pop had the transfer business when he moved people. Remember, he was an immigrant. He came to this country, and all he knew was he was a shoe cobbler. That was a trade. He was a brick mason. That was a trade. And he had anything. If there's something they'd do to make money to survive. I mean, he ended up with 12 kids, or actually 11, because that last one didn't make very far. But he had to do something. So in those days, when you moved people, you didn't even have highways. You didn't have roads. You had to go up the creek beds. Really, in a lot of cases, the creek was a road. Wasn't nothing unusual. But anyhow, they go up the creek, and the old trucks that he had, I tell you what they were. They're spoke wheels, wooden spokes, and they're hard rubber, because they didn't have balloon tires in those. That's before they ever had balloon tires. When they had a balloon tire, that was a big graduation. So, yeah, that's a whole lot of stories going, I remember one Christmas, I don't know how old, in fact, my son Paul has the picture of me on a bicycle, a girl's bicycle, that I got for Christmas. And I had a cowboy suit on. I had chaps on and all that stuff. And John got a bicycle, and he got a regular boy's bicycle. Well, I got a girl's bicycle. And we went out in the snow and went down the hill in the snow on those bicycles. I mean, that's the kind of Christmas we had. And the only thing you get for Christmas, I think one year, the only thing I got for Christmas was an electric train. And all it was a little train and little track, and it's just one track, and you go round and round and round. Later on, they got all fancy, got all kinds of trucks. But, yeah, kill it.